Throughout this short journey through the Bible and early church history on the Holy Spirit, we've seen that from the earliest verses of the Hebrew Bible, the Holy Spirit has been active in creation, an animating force in the life of the prophets and other servants of God, and the engine of the early church. Jesus specifically identified the Holy Spirit as the engine of his own ministry, and the Gospels show that the Holy Spirit is the wind in the wings of Jesus' early life and ministry, and is then given as a gift to the church. St. Paul says that the Holy Spirit is the one who showers various gifts upon Christians, enabling us to do wondrous and miraculous things like heal people who are sick, speak in various languages, hear and speak words that God has for us all, and to possess a kind of love that bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. So, do we have this same Spirit? In Francis Chan's book, Forgotten God, he gives an apt metaphor. He says that if we claim to have been given by God miraculous gifts to play basketball, wouldn't people expect our game to have improved? Wouldn't people expect our jump shot and foul shot and three-point shot percentage to go up dramatically? Wouldn't people expect to see us play basketball not only at a level that we were previously unable to attain, but at a level that is above other players who don't claim to have the same divine gift? In other words, if there was no change in us and no difference between us and anyone else, was there a divine gift at all? Or is there even such a thing as divine gifts? There are two basic strands of theology on the gift and power of the Holy Spirit. There are some churches who believe that the age of the Holy Spirit is over. It happened. It was great and wondrous, but the Holy Spirit doesn't move today like the Holy Spirit did in ages past. There are other churches which say, no, the gifts and manifestations of the Holy Spirit are still available to us. The Spirit of God moves just as powerfully today as the Spirit did a long time ago. The first group of churches is, believe it or not, a shrinking group. In fact, several major denominations that used to say that the gifts of the Holy Spirit had stopped have totally changed their minds on this. The most prominent of these churches is the Southern Baptist Church, one of the largest denominations in the United States. Of the churches who still look for the Holy Spirit to be moving, they do have to wrestle with the question, well, where is the Holy Spirit? Why isn't everyone who is baptized and who professes to have faith have the power to heal, speak in tongues, and prophesy? Why isn't the church the one place on planet Earth that could be universally described as loving? The basic theology here that most denominations and Pentecostal movements ascribe to is sort of a two-phase giving of the Holy Spirit. Most churches agree that when we come into the Christian faith and when we are baptized, we are given the Holy Spirit. In fact, in that moment, we are given everything that we need as gifts from God. It's just that most often we haven't activated the Holy Spirit within us. The second phase is called many things, but usually it's identified as the baptism of the Holy Spirit. It's the moment where we invite the Holy Spirit into our lives and begin to rely on the Spirit's power and presence. That's the theology, but the practicality of it is much easier to understand. Even when we come to faith and receive baptism, we still don't really like to give up control of our lives. We still want to hang on and do it ourselves and do it our way. Handing control over to the Holy Spirit sounds crazy and maybe even a little scary. Churches which emphasize this handing over control to the Holy Spirit are usually identified as Pentecostal or Charismatic. Pentecostal because there's something about that event of Pentecost going on. Charismatic because the Greek word charism means gift. A A charismatic church is a church that relies on and celebrates the various gifts of the Spirit. There are whole denominations that are Pentecostal and charismatic, but there are also charismatic Episcopal churches, Roman Catholic churches, Baptist churches, etc. And there are movements within churches which celebrate the charisms of the Holy Spirit, like Alpha or Curcio or Emmaus and others. If any of this sounds remotely interesting or even a little exciting, here's 3 things I would suggest. First, pray for the Spirit. One of the most ancient prayers of the church is a simple one. Come, Holy Spirit. That's it. We find that prayer in ancient Christian liturgical manuscripts that date back to the early medieval ages. One of the high points of the most stodgy liturgical churches during the celebration of the Eucharist is the prayer for the Spirit to come and make the bread and wine holy. Sometimes there's even a prayer that the Holy Spirit would come upon us too, right there in the midst of that stodgy, formal Eucharistic prayer. Prayers which invoke the Spirit are called an epiclesis. I would highly recommend for you to have your prayer life be epiclesial. Second, while you're praying, I'd suggest that you remember St. Paul's words from Romans 8. When we don't know what to pray for, the Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. In prayer, invite the Holy Spirit to flow through you and flow through your heart and mind, and pray with you and pray for you. The Spirit invites us to let the reins go, but especially during prayer time. So do it. Imagine the Holy Spirit like a great flowing river and take a step into the river and feel that Spirit move. Feel the Spirit flow. And finally, I suggest thinking intentionally of a relationship with the Holy Spirit. If you pray regularly, if you come to worship regularly, you probably think about God the Father. You probably think about Jesus. But do you think much of the Holy Spirit? As much as you relate to the Father and the Son, relate to the Holy Spirit. Talk to the Spirit. Listen for the Spirit. The greater our relationship develops with the Spirit, the greater risks we might be able to take in letting the Spirit take the reins of our lives.